Thank you for tuning in to Entertain the Geeky, your source for nerd news.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Jason back at you with more nerd news. So, we've had some things pop up this week that have just been really interesting, and a couple of stories that have, give us something cool to look forward to in the future. So, I'd like to start in the movie world, and we got our first look at Ant-Man and the Wasp in a trailer that was released by Marvel this week, and I got to say that the trailer, my wife was commenting on the fact that the trailer doesn't really have the same, kind of funny nature of the original trailers for Ant-Man, which showed off kind of a more comedic take on the character, or at least on the source material. But it definitely shows off some interesting things regardless. First of all, and the biggest thing, obviously, is we get to see Evangeline Lilly in costume, fully in a scene as the Wasp, shrinking down, using the wings, and it's fantastic. I mean, if you if you've been waiting like me to get to see Wasp on the screen, it looks like this movie's going to do it quite spectacularly. But there's definitely some questions that it raises as well. Where the villain direction will go. I mean, we see what appears to be the character Ghost in the trailer, and if you're unfamiliar, Ghost is typically a male character from the comic world who just doesn't believe that Pym or anybody should have the kind of technology that they have. So the part in the film will be played by a woman, which is a clear distinction between the character. But we'll see what her role will be in the film, because we also get a look at Lawrence Fishburne in the trailer. And when I say a look, I mean it's a really, really quick, just he's on screen for a second and then he's not. So there's, speculation. I don't know if it's speculation at this point. I think it is fully in the sphere of information that we have about this movie that he's going to be playing Goliath. Or, if you're unfamiliar, in the comics, Goliath was the second giant man. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the truth, what his role will be, and if we will get a giant man on Goliath throwdown in the city, which I'm assuming they probably will end up doing, and it would be really cool to see, since Giant Man was introduced to us in the Civil War movie. So some interesting nods to the original trailer. Typically small items being shown as big. I mean, I think in the original trailer we saw the train, Thomas the Tank Engine get really big. But definitely in this trailer we see a Hello Kitty Pez dispenser get giant-sized and cause a wreck of a motorcycle who's chasing Ant-Man and the Wasp. Surprisingly, there is no footage in the trailer of Michelle Pfeiffer's character, who is supposed to be playing the original Wasp. She's not shown in the trailer at all. However, there are a couple of shots where we see they are clearly in like the microscopic world that we see Scott enter into at the very in the very final moments of the original Ant-Man film. So I'm not really sure how big her part is going to be, or if maybe they're trying to, hold off on revealing too much about what her role in the film will be. But obviously, you don't get an actress like Michelle Pfeiffer and not take full advantage of her talent and give her, the screen time that someone who's worked so long deserves. So it'll be interesting to see, what comes of this. Also, we got some news this week on the Thor Ragnarok details for the Blu-ray release. One big thing that stands out, if you remember, in the lead up to Thor. Well, no, it wasn't in the lead up to Thor Ragnarok. I mean, I guess it kind of was, but it was released alongside Captain America: Civil War, and there was little videos trying to show what Thor was up to and why he didn't get invited to participate in the Civil War. And he's living in Australia. And he moves in with a man named Darryl, just a normal human guy. And as you can expect, the arrogance and the just kind of medieval stylings of Thor when meshed with a normal, just work a day, working Joe in Darryl, it provides, some hilarious results between the two of them, and how rent is going to be paid, and how a job is going to happen. And they were just really funny little videos that were just meant as kind of a joke. But apparently, for the release of Thor Ragnarok, they have done the same thing, except they have replaced Thor with the Grand Master. So we will get a little short film of the Grand Master moving in with Darryl, Thor's old Australian roommate. And if you saw Thor Ragnarok, Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master was just fantastic. He's one of the biggest reasons to watch the film, because Goldblum, when he's on screen, he brings it every time, and he has such a way about how he speaks, and his comedic timing that really are just a joy to watch in all the movies that he's been in. But he definitely shines as the Grand Master, who is a character that is a little out of his mind, but still carries himself in a very collected way. In the comics, the Grand Master is the brother of the Collector. So when Benicio del Toro was cast as the Collector, he too had a weird kind of eccentric nature about him that just melded in a really funny way with other more serious characters, or even more funny characters. And the Grand Master was just riding the coattails of that. And Jeff Goldblum just delivers those scenes with such grace and comedic timing that they really, really work. So I'll be very, very interested to see how the Grand Master adjusts to life on Earth with Darryl. It should be an interesting little kind of Blu-ray extra. So even if just getting to watch Thor Ragnarok in your own living room and kind of pause and look at those kinds of details that you might have missed when watching it on the big screen is not enticing enough, a nice little funny Darryl and the Grand Master one shot awaits you as well. So a couple of things too this week that came out of the video game world that really, really are exciting if you're if you're paying attention and you've been excited about some of these things. First is we finally got an official release announcement for Red Dead Redemption 2. And initially, Red Dead Redemption 2 was supposed to come to us in late 2017. The release date got pushed back to early 2018. And now an official release date has been announced on October 26th. And the creators and the people behind the game have been very forthcoming about all information as it's been available, and do apologize to fans for delays, but they really just want to release Rockstar games, to kind of keep par with what they've done recently with Grand Theft Auto. Just want to release a game that is as ready as it needs to be played by an audience. There is no word about whether or not Red Dead Redemption 2 will have an online component. But with Rockstar Games' success with Grand Theft Auto Online, you can absolutely bet that they will probably include something like that in the package. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2, was an interesting thing too when news of it first popped up, because there was definitely weird speculation about whether or not the protagonist from the previous game was going to be making a reappearance. He dies at the end of the first game. And his son kind of picks up the reins, so there was curiosity of whether or not this was going to be his son. But, so maybe he looked similar because they're genetically, similar. But it seems as though those hopes have been dashed of a continuation of the Red Dead Redemption narrative in favor of a new story, which centers on a lead character named Arthur Morgan, and his gang, the Vanderlyn gang. So expect a very kind of Grand Theft Auto experience with, the kind of organized crime and mafia things replaced with outlaws in the Old West, similar to the first Red Dead Redemption and even Red Dead Revolver before it, which was a more action-oriented game, but still very good. So, I'm excited to see what they bring to Red Dead Redemption 2, if they will still include, a mode that has a narrative driven by a zombie apocalypse within the Old West, which was a very cool part of the first Red Dead Redemption. And Rockstar's got a lot to live up to. The success of Grand Theft Auto cannot be eclipsed easily. So there will definitely be a lot of comparisons being drawn between what Red Dead Redemption does for its property versus how Grand Theft Auto has moved the medium forward in such big ways with its, the most recent game allowing you to switch between three different main characters kind of on the fly, which really, shined in moments when there was a mission that they were all three involved in, being able to switch between the guy who's hacking the security to help you access the bank vault, to the guy who's actually breaking into the bank vault, to the guy who's undercover within the bank vault. The game really had an interesting dynamic in that regard, which allowed you to follow three separate narratives of three friends as the story unfolded before you. So Red Dead Redemption 2 has definitely got a long road ahead of it to solidify itself as a good continuation of its intellectual property, and we'll see if any of the features can eclipse what Grand Theft Auto has done for the gaming for the gaming reality. I mean, what we have as games now will be using the kind of open world tactics that we saw in the last Grand Theft Auto game. Games have already done that. So I'm looking forward to Red Dead Redemption 2. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Get at me in an email at etgnerdnews@gmail.com and tell me what you think about Red Dead Redemption. Moving on staying in the video game world, there was a confusing product that was released by Nintendo this week called the Nintendo Labo, or Yabo. I guess Labo. There's only one L. Which was a little mysterious and kind of confusing at first, but apparently what it is people have gotten hands-on with it and been able to explore it, is what they're calling a Toy Con. So it comes with little punch-out, assemble cardboard pieces that will have spots for each of your Joy-Con controllers as well, that reconfigure the controller to be used like a fishing rod or like a piano. And they're calling these things, the Toy Cons, and it's a very weird concept, to say the least. I mean, it definitely will expand upon the kind of games that they can release and the kind of things that you can do with those games. But it's just such a weird thing to, be hooking up your Joy-Con controllers, this expensive piece of electronic equipment, to some cardboard, and then being able to integrate that within the mechanics, like fishing and driving, and even playing the piano with the camera on your Nintendo, kind of picking up the tracking of your fingers. So, I mean, really kind of such a simple idea is clearly pushing the medium and pushing the technology of the Nintendo Switch to much further than the Nintendo Wii or the Wii U ever did with the same technology. Nintendo has always been at the forefront of trying new, having new ideas and trying new things when it comes to integrating humans and hardware for video games. The Nintendo Wii was revolutionary in that regard. The Nintendo GameCube before it, with its tiny mini disc format, was a very interesting kind of new technology. That Nintendo was wrong on that one. Mini discs did not become a real big part of our lives, but they were willing to take that chance, and they were willing to try out a different format for their video gaming. So they've always been taking chances. I mean, the Switch is a perfect example of a great gaming machine that is also a handheld gaming machine that you can take in the car on long car rides or take on the train as you go to work. It's just a very, Nintendo have had a long history of just kind of pushing the technological envelope and trying different things and seeing what sticks. And clearly with the success of, the Nintendo Switch, it's working for them. I mean, they have shown that the audience is there. The audience is enjoying the fact that they're trying something new and wants to be a part of what they're doing. So these things like the Nintendo Labo, I don't think this is going to be the first of its kind. I think that we're going to see other companies making peripheral, components for the games that will take advantage of the Joy-Con technology of the Nintendo Switch as a console and handheld system. So I think it's great. I mean, I can't wait to see what the future holds for Nintendo. They've wowed us. They wowed us in 2017, and it's starting off good. I think they're going to wow us here in 2018 as well. So I just have a couple of more things to cover from the comic side of things. Infinity Countdown is about to start from Marvel, and the first one shot of which is called Infinity Countdown Warlock #1. Written by Jerry Dugan and illustrated by the fantastic Mike Allred. And I gotta say, I'm excited to see Warlock back in the Marvel Universe. They kind of briefly introduced him in the last issue of Guardians of the Galaxy number 150, which was a great issue in its own right. But they set up a kind of a big cliffhanger with that issue in the fact that when Warlock is reborn, his cocoon has actually been ripped from its time stream and brought into the time stream of Kang the Conqueror at some point throughout his timeline. We don't yet know what that point is. The one shot that comes out this Wednesday, that will be on your shelves this Wednesday, will attempt to explain that and what Kang the Conqueror needs with Adam Warlock, and what this means for the Infinity Countdown, which is counting down to a Marvel crossover that is going to unite the Infinity Stones once again. Which in and of itself is a hard sell. I mean, trying to find new and innovative ways to tell stories that involve the Infinity Stones is something that Marvel's tried to do, sometimes successfully, sometimes unsuccessfully over the years. So we'll see. This one's kind of got some intriguing setup going on, and I'll be following it, with bated breath, and I will bring all the latest updates to you as we go. But one thing I'm excited about is the fact that the book is being illustrated by Mike Allred, who is a fantastic, fantastic artist when it comes to galactic stuff. I mean, he started I don't know if he even started his career here, but the first time I remember, seeing Mike Allred's art was a book called Ecstatics from back in the 90s. And it was an interesting kind of goofy book where, almost assuredly every issue a character would die and then be replaced in the following issue. It did give us characters like Dupe, which is kind of like a little green floaty alien guy that has been popping up as part of the X books since then. But then Allred worked on things like Silver Surfer, and that is where we found a real good, outlet for the art style that he brings to Marvel. So I'm super excited he's going to be drawing the Kang the Conqueror Warlock one-shot. Should be great. I've seen some early pages. Previews have come up online. The book comes out this Wednesday. So yeah, it's definitely something to look forward to if you're a Marvel fan or if you're just a fan of Adam Warlock. I was, personally one of the ones who read Warlock and the Infinity Watch. It's a weird, obscure Marvel book where Warlock, brought together a group of heroes to protect the Infinity Stones. So not many of you probably remember that, but it did happen. It was a good book, and it really kind of fleshed out the character of Warlock a little more as a heroic part of the Marvel Universe, and I'm super excited to see him back. On a little bit of a higher note, if in case you haven't heard, Stan Lee had some heart problems this week and had to be hospitalized. Dude's 95 years old. Stuff like that happens when you when you get up that high in the numbers. But he is okay. Everything is fine. In fact, he is not even going to cancel his next convention appearance, which I think is this weekend or next weekend. So just in case, you had heard about it and you maybe not heard how it resolved, Stan Lee is going to be cool. He's going to be popping up at conventions, and I'm assuming probably change some things and keep an eye on his health a little more as he's getting up there. And it's just good to know that he's doing okay and that he will definitely be making those appearances at the conventions that are coming up. So if you're in those areas, you're going to be good. He'll be there. So that's going to wrap things up for me here. So do me a favor, if you dig what I'm doing here, head on over to entertainthegeeky.com and check out the website we got there. We got Roger and Chris's show. The Entertain the Geeky podcast is there as well. Those guys are super funny, and you should definitely check them out. We've got the blogs where we're releasing articles and doing different things all week long to try to keep you guys engaged, and the Nerd News blurbs, which are just kind of little quick stories that kind of keep you up to date as the up to the minute things kind of crop up as we go through the week. So if you want to chat with me, if you want to give me an opinion about some of the things that I've talked about on the shows previous and the show today, shoot me an email at etgnerdnews@gmail.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/entertainmentgeeky, and on Twitter at entertaingeeky. Until next time, guys, stay geeky.